The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They pay more extra places than any other bookie.
Hello one and all, and welcome to this Monday Racing Post review programme looking back on a big weekend of action at Newmarket, and also in this particular edition looking forward as well, because we've got British Champions Day, Kipco British Champions Day on Saturday at Ascot. Joining me here on the 23rd floor of Canary Wharf in Racing Post plush television studio is Nick Watts. On the line in no doubt his plush mansion, Mr. Tom Siegel, and also on the line in Ireland, Tom Nugent from our sponsors and our friendly partners, Paddy Power. Hello, one and all.
Good day. Hi, hello.
So we'll start with Newmarket. We'll go to Saturday first and the Darley Dewhurst Stakes. Churchill, Nick, did the job again. Beat your stablemate into second. Some well-fancied horses, well beaten. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking forward to the race last Monday, and I thought Churchill, I thought he was taking on some good colts when I was looking at the race, before it happened, because Rivet had won well at Doncaster the time before, looked good prospect. Seven Heavens likewise hadn't done a lot, but what he'd done was very good. So I expected a good race, and for me, Churchill has done what he's done all season. He's a solid pro. He gets the job done. And yeah, he won nicely. It's a shame in a way that Lancaster Bomber, who's not by any means top of the O'Brien ranks, followed him home in second. I was just really disappointed there was no challenger from the Rivet and the Seven Heavens camps. Really, they both failed dismally. And it was another 1-2 for Aidan. That's brilliant for him, and just shows what a great setup he's there in Galileo. Got an uber sire, but just disappointing for me. There was no real competitiveness to the race, and an air of familiarity in the final furlong with two Ballydoyle horses clearing off. Would he win the 2,000 guineas? He probably will, because I was looking through the betting earlier, and Caravaggio's second in, probably won't go. Then you've got War Decree, who's third in, about 16 to 1. He's also an Aidan O'Brien horse. And then you've got Dreamfields, a once raced maiden winner, next best after that. So almost by default, Churchill, great as he is, there's not much else around.
Tom, just go through your 2,000 guineas betting as it stands, would you please?
Yeah, so Churchill is now into 6-4 favourite from 5-2 after his win the other day. Caravaggio is next in at 6-1. War Decree 12s. Douglas MacArthur 16-1, and it's 20s bar with a whole host of them there.
Okay, and so how much of a move did you make for Churchill after the race? What, 2s into 6-4 or?
6-4 from 5-2.
6-4 from 5-2.
Yeah.
So that's quite. So you guys were clearly impressed. You think he's a much likelier winner of the Guineas after the race than you did before? Yeah. The guys on the trading floor were very impressed, and they chalked up a Guineas and Derby double at 7-1 as well. He's now 5-1 outright favourite for the Derby too. So the guys are very impressed by him. So 5 for the Derby, 6-4 for the Guineas. Tom, Nick was making the point that he was disappointed that there wasn't more of a challenge placed to Churchill on Saturday. Is your take that? I mean, look, going into it, I thought it was a strong Dewhurst on paper. Is your belief that South Sea, Seven Heavens, Rivet all pretty much ran to form, or were they all below their best?
It's hard to say, Lee. I mean, I couldn't agree more with Nick there. I've just been writing my Weekender column for this week, and I was just exactly saying what he's saying. I mean, it's not necessarily that the others can't do it. It's just they can't get hold of these great Galileo horses. It's so difficult for these other trainers to come and compete with Aidan. He had the first 3 in the Arc, the first 1-2 in the Fillies Mile, the 1-2. They're all Galileo horses, and these other trainers can't get hold of them. And that's the big dichotomy in racing at the moment, I think, is that there's one super sire, and the rest are struggling to get in terms with, to find horses that can compete with them. I don't know if Churchill's very good. I didn't, before the start of the day, I didn't think he was a brilliant horse. Aidan seems to think he's brilliant. He didn't look brilliant. The time wasn't anything wonderful, but he's a very solid citizen that runs pretty fast, and if there's nothing else around, he'll probably win the Guineas too.
Okay, so that's the Dewhurst looked at. If we look at the Fillies Mile from the Friday, before we do that, Tom, again, can you just run through your 1,000 guineas betting?
Sure. So Road at Entron is 5-1 from 16s after the weekend. Spainburg next in at 12s alongside Wuheda. Dabia 14-1, and there's a whole lot of them there at 16s. Fair Eva, Promise to Be True, Roly Poly, Hydrangea, and Talieb just a few of them.
Okay, well, Nick, I don't often express an opinion because mine are pretty worthless.
Well, I don't know, Jim Crowley.
Well, that's a one rare moment of inspiration. After the Fillies Mile, I was very surprised when the bookies were putting up 10-1 quotes for the 1,000 guineas. Tried to get some of that, but that had gone. But I did back her 8-1 for the 1,000 guineas. My thinking being, she looks clearly to be Aidan's #1 prospect. She was very impressive, I thought, on Friday. And with the best will in the world, and this sounds harsh, a number of her principal rivals represent Godolphin's Newmarket stables, who traditionally don't seem to be able to get their horses to the guineas. I think Rhododendron's still a decent price for the Newmarket Classic. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, Godolphin haven't come to the party, have they? Not for a long time in the Spring Classics. And again, I'm going to echo the sentiments I made about the Dewhurst a minute ago. I thought we had two really promising fillies from our side of the water going into the race on Friday. We had Spatial and Sabetsu. And Spatial, I think, had run behind Wuheda, the Marcel Boussac winner first time out, and then won next time. Sabetsu had finished third behind Spatial and then hacked up in her maiden. They both turned up. Well, they didn't turn up really, did they? In all but name. They ran in the race, but they were both pretty bad as well. And it was another 1-2 for Aidan. I'm slightly surprised how well Rhododendron did it, bearing in mind the race she had the time before when she was beaten. And looked to hang a little bit as well. You wondered if she'd had enough. But again, it just shows how brilliant Aidan is. Okay, we take that defeat on the chin. He gets them right at home, brings them back, and they come back even better. And I'd agree with you that she does, on the balance of form, look better than Hydrangea. Again, like I said, the British trained fillies didn't turn up. And yeah, I think the bookies maybe are a point or two too big on her. I'd second your opinion. I think she's probably a likely winner.
Oh, Tom, I've been seconded. Are you going to third me?
Me? Yeah, probably. Hey. Unfortunately, well, that's once again we go through this, and I think the Dubawi filly that won in France, Wuheda's pretty good. But as you know, if the Godolphin can get her there in pretty good form, then she's obviously a player too. But where are the others coming from? You just got to. I think it's just a weak playing field we got at the moment. I don't think we got weak trainers, we haven't got weak jockeys, we haven't got weak anything. But it's just trying to find someone to compete with these Aidan horses is really hard.
And if you look at this with the filly, 2-year-old filly's form, if you like, if you think there are two different strands, aren't there? You got the 6 furlong strand, the mile strand. If you look at the Cheveley Park, it's hard to see from what I've witnessed anything from that race looking an obvious.
That was an Aidan 1-2 as well,
exactly,
wasn't it?
And the American filly's clearly not a Guineas horse. As you say, it's hard to look at. I mean, Tom, can you see anything outside the obvious, Mr. Nugent, that makes you think that is a realistic challenger?
If you're going strictly on form lines, could you take a second look at Joseph's filly that won in the Curragh? Bet Rhododendron and Hydrangea that day into second and third. Intricately, I think she's out at 20-1 there at the moment. But like just kind of off the wall angle into it, but obviously she ran out of her skin that day. Whether or not she can reproduce that next year is a different story. But outside of Rhododendron, it's kind of looking a bit slim pickings out there for punters to try and take something at a bigger price.
Okay, if we just look at the rest of Newmarket, Nick, there were some other good 2-year-old performances at Newmarket. Coronet pleased a lot of people with her performance. Some other good winners. Anything that you saw over those 2 days springing forward to next year that you think we should be getting excited about?
Well, you've given the one name that I was going to come up with, Lee. You stole my thunder. Coronet. I thought that's 2 out of 2 for her now. She's bred for middle distances. I think she's related to Midas Touch and other good horses. I thought she did well to win at the weekend. Looks to stay very well, and the Musador is the plan apparently early next season, and then on to the Oaks. And yeah, I think she's got a squeak. I think she's a good price, so she's one to go into the winter with, to look forward to for next year.
Okay, Mr. Nugent from Newmarket or anywhere else over the last few days?
Nothing from Newmarket. One from the Curragh.
Yeah.
Spirit of Valour was green as grass in the maiden, and the lads here seem to think that he could be quite decent. Very green and stayed on into third in behind Holistic Approach of Bulgers, who went on and won well in the end. But Spirit of Valour could be one to keep on side next time out.
Okay, Mr. Price-wise?
I'll go away from the 2-year-olds, and I thought Acclaim was really quite impressive in the Challenge Stakes, Lee. I think he's a good horse going through. I think ground was probably a bit quick for him, but since they've upped him in trip, I think he's he's looked really impressive on every start. Something like you could see him running well in the Lockinge, something like that, start of next season.
Okay, much to take away then from Newmarket and the Curragh over the weekend. It's a big weekend coming up, and we'll look at it after this break.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Okay, so Saturday marks Kipco British Champions Day, and looking forward to it with me, Lee Mottershead. We've got Nick Watts, Tom Siegel and Tom Nugent. And first of all, just as we speak, we're awaiting the 5-day forfeits to come through for Ascot. Also, as we speak, the ground at Ascot on the inner flat course, which is the hurdles course, but it will be a flat course on Saturday, is good to firm in places. I think the main track is just on the easy side of good. So if it carries on as it is, they'll put on the Champion Stakes on the outer flat course because the inner flat course is a bit too quick. The Champion Stakes, the big one, Al Mansour, the connections don't seem to be regretting the decision not to run in the Arc, bearing in mind that they beat Found at Leopardstown, who won the Arc. And we could have Al Mansour taking on Found again in the Champion Stakes, and that would be a whopperoonie of a race.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? And yeah, let's hope it happens. And I don't know what the plans are for Minding if she's running that day as well. But even if Al Mansour and Found, if they were just the two that turned up, and plus several others as well. Last year's winner, Fascinating Rock, maybe. And, it's just got strength in depth in one of the races of the season. It's interesting you mentioned the weather because we are used to watching this meeting in a bit of a swamp. Normally the October weather. Isn't very favourable. It is going to be this season by the looks of it, by the looks of the forecast. So it's going to be run on traditional flat ground, which is nice for all concerned. I think no excuses for any horses in particular. And yeah, it might be a bit boring, but I would stick with Al Mansour for the Champion Stakes. Just you can argue whether it should have run in the Arc or not, but this has always been their path. This is always where they've wanted to come. And based on the Leopardstown win last time, but I think Found over a mile and two might have a work cut out to reverse that.
Back home, my rhubarb is still growing, which is a very good indication of how the weather has changed this year. Tom, not in relation to my rhubarb, but the actual ground at Ascot on Saturday, before you look at the Champion Stakes, it will be a different sort of Champions Day, won't it, because of that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's nice to have the ground like this, isn't it? I don't know about your rhubarb, Mick, Lee, but yeah. It's great to have proper fast ground on the for Champions Day. The seasons are getting different, aren't they? I remember going to Champions Day when Frankel won. It was boiling hot, wasn't it? It was really hot there. Now the ground wasn't hot, but we're sort of getting to the stage now where we're getting this sort of ground longer into the season, and I think it's great because that's when all the best races are. So it'd be great to see if they all turn up. I personally prefer Found. Again, I don't think she was anything like Cherry Ripe at Leopardstown for the Champion Stakes. And Frankie was riding. It wasn't he? It wasn't like she was supposed to be the first string that day when Al Mansour beat her. I think she improved markedly, massively in the Arc. She cantered round there. I think mile and a quarter, mile and a half. I think she'll beat Al Mansour.
Oh, that's a bold call. Tom, would you agree with Tom's bold call?
I actually would. I think I was lucky enough to be in Chantilly, and she was very, very good. I think she really could flip the form with Almanzar. Just one back off a long layoff. It'd be interesting to see if Jack Hobbs shows up. Obviously last year's Irish Derby winner. At 16-1 could be knocking each way about. I don't know.
Turning up, Tom. I spoke to William Buick on Saturday about it, and he worked at Kempton last Saturday, a week ago, and he worked very well, and it's all systems go, and they're very pleased with him.
Would you two give? I remember watching him in a racecourse gallop at the Craven meeting, and I think they're very hard to judge racecourse gallops, but I thought then he didn't impress me at all, and he then ran badly in the jockey. Even at his best, Tom, either Nick, well, one Nick, we've only got the one Nick, two Toms. At his best, would that give him a chance of challenging Al Mansour or Found, or would it still leave him with a fair bit to find?
I think he'd struggle myself. I even at his best, like he couldn't win last year, could he? Against Fascinating Rock would be an interesting contender again.
In the context of the market at 16-1, he's a knock and place bet. I think he could definitely make the frame here if he's back to his form. I thought his Irish Derby, when the way he quickened off the bend in the Curragh, was unreal. I thought he was really, really good that day. Obviously, that's a while ago, and there's been problems, but I think it's 16-1. It's a bit of value, like.
So I'd throw in Mutakayev, Nick. I don't know what you think about as maybe being the each-way play in the race. Third, 2 postponed in the Judd-Monty at York. He didn't get the best of runs that day. He was really good when he beat Dutch Connection at Ascot earlier in the season. I think he's a horse that could hit the frame. I don't think he'll probably stay well enough to beat a Found or an Almenzor, but I could see him running well.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, I'd still go with the French horse. I thought maybe Found her improvement maybe came about because she, was going over an extra couple of furlongs last time. Maybe a mile and 2 might be just a little bit short of her optimum. I don't know. Just never say never with Aidan these days, do you? He can walk on water, part the Red Sea, do all sorts of things, can't he?
Well, could he grow Lee's rhubarb?
My rhubarb is
in October.
I'm not sure where to pick it. I think it's a bit late to be picking it, and to be honest, it's not quite reached sort of full stalk stage.
I think even Aidan would struggle with your rhubarb, Lee.
Well, the things that
do you
man
put it into
can
a crumble, Lee?
Yeah, I do. I do particularly nice. This is a welcome diversion for listeners. I do particularly nice thing I call a rhubarb crumble square. Where basically I sort of get a crumbly type mix, heavy on the demerara, bake a layer in like a Swiss roll tin, then add some
Mary
stewed
Berry on
rhubarb
the horses.
and top it with some crumble mix. It's delicious. As also, in a seamless segue, is the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes, which I still regret is run on the straight course. I much preferred it in the old days on the round course, but I'm old-fashioned. Tom Nugent, Paddy Power, give us your anti-post odds on the QE2 prior to the 5-day forfeits coming through.
2-1 Ribchester, 11-4 Minding, 3-1 Galileo Gold, 9-1 Autad alongside Lightning Spear. Mutakayev is 10s along with Alice Springs, and that's 20s bar.
Okay, well you keep the floor, Tom. Keep the floor.
God.
Minding, question Minding. If you're Aidan O'Brien, do you run Minding in the QE2, in the Champion Stakes, or I suppose even the Fillies and Mares maybe?
Well, I suppose, do you want to, what do you want to prove? Do you want to, like, obviously she's a top class Group 1 filly amongst her own sex, but do you want to go and try and beat the boys and just see, is she that step above the rest? Like, it's obviously Aidan is he probably would never admit it, but it must be in the back of his head that he's out for the target of Group 1s, and if you'd imagine if you ran Minding in the Fillies and Mares, that it would be a bit of a penalty kick for her. I don't know. It depends whatever way you want to look at it. I think she could be good enough to win this.
Mr. Siegel, they've got Found then for the Champion Stakes, Seventh Heaven for the Fillies and Mares. Does that suggest to you the QE2 will be the race?
That's what Aidan said. That's what Aidan said. Aidan said he was going to run her in this race. I think it's interesting that he's going to run her. I mean, I've always thought her best performance was in the Guineas.
Right.
Better than, the Oaks was a sort of a non-event, despite her being hampered. I thought that was her best performance. I didn't think she was as good at Goodwood afterwards. And then she got sort of trapped on the inside down in the Almenzor's race in Ireland last time. I still think she's a fantastic filly, but she has had a lot of racing and a lot of hard racing this season. Back over a mile against Ribchester and the boys. It is a tough task for her, but she's exceptional. And she, I'm not sure I'd back her at, I know, did you say 11-4 there, Tom?
11-4, yeah.
I'm not sure I'd back her at that, but I'd love to see her win.
Is there one, Nick, that jumps out for you at this stage?
I think I'd go with Ribchester. I just really like the progression he's made this season. The way he won the Jersey Stakes, I was impressed with that. I thought he was good in defeat in the Sussex Stakes at Goodwood as well. He was the kind of fast finishing out of the Galileo Gold and the Gurkha battle. Almost got there, and again in France last time looked good. He's just he's getting better and better. And Minding, she's a tough filly to beat. And I don't know, it's just so hard, isn't it? Because I completely agree with Tom. She's had a lot of races this season, a lot of hard ones too. And we're coming to the end of the campaign. But, I don't know how he does it, but you wouldn't be surprised if Aidan O'Brien wheeled her out again and she came and won. And we'd all be marvelling at how he did it. And, the hard racer that she has had haven't had the impact on her that we might have thought. There's other cases. If he runs Order of St George at the weekend in the long distance race, how would he come out with the Arc? He'll probably go and win. And we'll be writing more superlatives about him this time next week.
Well, guys, just bear in mind we haven't seen the 5-day forfeits yet, and listeners, you by this stage might well have seen them. So you are one step in front of us. So forgive us for our ignorance at this stage, but we haven't seen the 5-day forfeits. But in the Champion Sprint, which at the time of writing, Tom Nugent, Quiet Reflections, what price?
7-2.
7-2. In the fillies and mares, what price have you got Zakova and Seventh Heaven?
1 second now. My laptop is refusing to comply.
You're pressing buttons as we speak, aren't you?
Yes. Okay, Seventh Heaven 5-2.
And Zakova
is 3-1.
Journey
7-1. Simple Verse 10s alongside Queen's Trust, and Founds is in at 12 alongside a whole load of others.
Okay, and what price have you got Order of St George, the long distance cup?
4-5 from Simple Verse at 5-1, 13-2 Forgotten Rules, 8-1 Quest for More, and 14's Bar.
Lovely job. Okay then, boys, just wrapping up this programme. In those other Champions Day races, and of course the Balmoral Handicap as well, anything at this stage you would be recommending podcast listeners to be steaming into? Who wants to go first? Silence. Right, I'm going to nominate someone.
I'll go, Lee.
Good lad.
I'll go, Lee. Well, I was so impressed with La Brisa Breeze the other day. I think that's so hard to do what he did the other day at Ascot that I would be backing him in whichever race he runs in. I'm hoping he goes against Quiet Reflection because I'm quite keen to take her on in that sprint. I didn't think she was as impressive at Ascot as she has been in all her other races. She sort of scrambled home in a sort of average sort of renewal of the Commonwealth Cup. I'd be quite keen to take her on. Shalaz could bounce. Twilight Sun looks like the ground's gone against him. I can't believe Mecca's Angel's going to run. So I'm thinking that the sprint might be quite a weak race. So if La Brisa Breeze doesn't turn up, something like Brando would be on my shortlist. So that's the race I'm looking at the moment.
Okay, so you're looking for a mini boil over.
Absolutely, I think that's possible.
Okay, Nick?
Well, if La Brisa Breeze goes for the sprint, then I'll be quite interested in a horse called Remarkable for the Balmoral Handicap, who maybe didn't get the best of runs in La Brisa Breeze's race last time at Ascot, was only beaten about 3.5 lengths. And he was a big eye catcher for me at Newbury earlier in the season. I think he ran behind Lockout Island when that one tore off in front and made all. And I think he's just been I get the feeling he's got a good handicap in him, and this could be the one.
Okay, and Mr. Nugent?
I'm going to indulge myself a little bit and give a cliff horse of mine, because I did my money in France. Somi Dar was very, very keen, and the short straight and Shanti didn't suit her at all. She's 12-1 at the moment for the fillies and mares, which I think is too big for an each way bet. I think she could definitely be in the mix.
Okay, so there's one thing is I think they're looking
if she shows up,
Breeders' Cup, aren't they?
Yeah,
so
she could go straight to America, but if she does show up, she could be worth a few bob.
There is an extra week this year, isn't there, between Ascot and the Breeders' Cup? So, Tom, it's your favourite meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I love the Breeders' Cup. Lee, are you out there again? Nice little jolly for you boys.
Now, listen, I'm going on a holiday this year. I'm paying for my accommodation. I'm paying for my flights.
Oh, fair enough.
All out of my own pocket.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
Clearly.
You've turned that around. So what was a positive for me has just become a complete negative. And how was your New York holiday?
It was lovely. Thank you very much.
Good man. Marvellous. Well, this has been lovely, hasn't it? Anything else anybody else wants to say?
I'm done.
You're done?
We're all done.
I reckon that's a wrap then. So, listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Return on Friday, if you would. We'll be going into Ascot in much greater depth in our Friday tipping podcast. Until then, thank you to Nick, to Tom, and to Tom. Thank you to all of you for listening, and see you soon. Goodbye.
The Race and Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They price up all UK and Irish racing the night before.